I call to order this meeting of the Warren County School Board for Thursday, June 12th, 2014. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is to accept or modify the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Community participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Okay, we come to this portion of our meeting that is set aside for public comments. Any member of the public with comments on any item on the board's agenda or with information they would like to present, please come to the lectern. State your name and address for the record. Print your name on the list of speaker sheets for the clerk. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. While the board welcomes and encourages your input, this may be the first time your information has been presented to the board. Please do not expect individual responses or any comment by the board at this time. Be assured that any concerns will be reviewed.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, I wrote down what I wanted to say so I'd stay on track.
Could we have your name and address, please?
Sharon Nash, 143 Zen Way, Linden, Virginia.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here. I'm a bus driver. I'm representing the bus drivers, teachers, and parents, and some of the other people that are here with me. We have a petition signed by 127 concerned individuals that we would like for you to consider. It concerns an employee, and we request a meeting to discuss it. We feel very strongly about this matter and hope that the board will give serious thought to our request. There are many more people concerned about this matter, but frankly, your employees are terrified of losing their job, so they wouldn't sign the petition. We feel that serious injustice has been done, and we hope it can be rectified. We also fear that the knowledge, the information, and the support that will be lost will cause significant problems in the daily operation and morale of your transportation department. There are serious issues when people who have been working for you for 19, 20 years are losing their jobs. I thank you for listening, and thank you for considering our petition.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board? Okay, thank you. Consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Reports. Staff report. Instruction report. Mr. Drescher.
Good evening. It's always my pleasure each month to give some updates on the instruction that is happening in Warren County Public Schools. Hopefully in your packet is some information on professional development. We just kind of ran some numbers for the year. Thought it was always interesting. We had about 18,000 hours of professional development collectively in the division. And we also require teachers to earn Warren County professional development credits. And their credits, you can see, are 20,000, and that represents over 4,000 hours of professional development, and that's outside regular working hours. So it's been a lot of time. 199 in-house professional development activities were offered by our own professional staff. So we have many experts in-house, and they are helping others of us learn many good things to help our students. 185 different conferences were attended. 70 staff members took at least one college course during the year, and we had 70 different online learning activities that were participated in. So we feel very strongly about professional development and the help that it gives our teachers in order to help our students. And just wanted to kind of give you those numbers for the year, and we look forward, and we're already planning on next year's things.
I was curious, the book study groups, do they have to do with particular classes or just?
Generally, it's what somebody, either a principal or somebody within a school is interested in, a topic, like writing has been a big topic that schools have studied, and just any type of book dealing with discipline or instructional strategies or things like that.
Now, are these book study groups, are they per school or are they
It
county?
can run across. It can be
Okay.
run across, yep.
Interesting.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
The second thing we have on the instruction report is I have with me tonight Maria Wakefield. Maria is a 7th grade teacher at Warren County Middle School, and she is going to talk to us about an ongoing project that 7th grade science has been doing at the middle school. And so I'll invite Maria to come up, and I'm going to run the video, and so if it doesn't work, it's my fault.
I'm going to mention her in my comments.
Good evening. Thank you for having me today. For this year, 7th grade science was lucky enough to use the Kindles for our textbook, which was fantastic. And thanks to the Warren County Educational Endowment, I also had 12 iPads in my classroom. So my students were lucky enough to have a one-on-one while they were in my classroom. So today I just kind of wanted to show you a few examples of what we did with the iPads aside from the textbook. To start with, I did interview 4 of my students, and they're going to share with you what we did, what they liked most, and their suggestions for next year.
Mr. Smith, can you get the light? There we go. Thank you. Can you go back? Oh.
Can you put the mic up?
No, that won't work.
Choose an arts project that probably are not in any textbooks that schools provide
Not working with this.
students.
Okay. And what is one suggestion for iPads that should be tried next year?
I think you should try using YouTube more, trying to look up new videos, because it helps children be able to have a visual, and it definitely helps other people learn about.
Give your name and tell us what you liked most about using the iPads.
My name is Lindora Pico, and I really like doing the Show Me activity we did earlier in the year.
What did you learn with using them that you may not have learned otherwise?
I learned how to use different apps that may help with science class in the future.
And what is one suggestion for the iPads that should be tried next year?
To do more activities like the Show Me and Zoo projects.
All right. Give your name and tell us what you liked most about using the iPads.
I'm Joel Simmons, and I liked using the iPads more because you get more than one reference to use, so you can try and figure out if you're using the right, information.
What did you learn with using them that you may not have learned otherwise?
I may not have learned using, I don't know how to say this, like reference skills. Like it's easier to you learn how to search things better and use certain websites and knowing where to go and where not to go.
And what is one suggestion for the iPads that should be tried next year?
I think we should use a little more like internet use, like
He was all about learning how to use his reference skills and research appropriately. I would like to take a few minutes and just kind of show you some of the apps we used. And many of the students referenced the zoo project, which was the very last project we did after I gave my final benchmark. And the zoo project pretty much incorporated everything we did for fourth advisory. So I did bring some of the examples from this year's students to show you as well of that zoo project. Can I come over there?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Okay. So one of the very first things we did, aside from the textbook, I had the students collect leaves in September before they all fell off, and they made a plant collection. They had to collect 7 to 10 leaves. They had to tape them on white paper, write down the city and state, the date that they collected them, and then their name. They turned them in, I held on to them, and when we got to plants in March, I gave them back, and we used Leaf Snap to identify them. So with Leaf Snap, all they have to do is take a picture of their leaf, and then their database will come up. So once they take a picture, it'll come up with the leaves that are most the same shape as the one they took a picture of, and the students will be able to compare the veins of the leaf and how they're situated and determine if it's a match or not. Once they found their match, then they had to give me the common name and the scientific name, because at that point we were talking about classification, and then they had to give me the habitat of the plant. And they wrote that information on their sheet, and then they had a plant collection. It was either in a binder or in a folder, and I graded them and handed them back, and nobody would let me keep theirs this year because I wanted to keep them. So, which was good. They enjoy this project because it's ownership for them. They did it all on their own. I am not a huge plant person, so there are a lot of plants that I don't know. A student can bring me a leaf and be like, I honestly don't know, I'm going to have to research it for you. So it's not me giving them the answers, because I probably would give them the wrong answer anyway. So they do it completely on their own. They help each other out to make sure they're on the right track. And it took them 3 or 4 days, but they worked hard and they did really well with that. The second one that we did was a Show Me. And a Show Me is pretty much, it's a smart board. It's an interactive whiteboard, but it records you while you are talking. So the kids can record themselves while they're writing things down, or they can import pictures and draw around the pictures or draw arrows to diagrams or anything like that. So I used this to do something similar to what is known as the jigsaw method. So each group was given a certain topic to cover, and they used the textbook that was on the iPad or the Kindle and researched their topic, and they had certain questions they had to answer. Then they made a Show Me, and after everybody was done, we went through the Show Me's to the class, and then we talked about all the information as an entire class. So I'll just show you part of an example. You won't be able to hear it, but so they're talking while they're writing the vocabulary word, and there's the definition. But the good thing that I like about this is I have the ability to pause. So if kids needed to write this down, I can pause it right there. They could be writing down their information, and I can elaborate on what the group had already put together. It also gives an opportunity for the rest of the class to ask questions if they have certain questions or don't quite understand something. But it's not me standing up there for 30 to 40 minutes just lecturing and they're writing down a bunch of stuff. They did it on their own first, and then we're sharing and we're having a discussion together. And then the last one we did the zoo project, and that one they just used the internet, and I have a Portal website where I can put in all the links, so they're not going to Google and searching whatever they want. They go to my Portal, they use the links that I have provided. They had the ability to choose their own animals. I did give them requirements. They had to have 3 mammals, 2 birds, 2 reptiles, but from there they could choose exactly what they wanted. So most of them picked animals they had never even heard of. They had to start by researching common name, scientific name, and then the size. Then they did the habitat and the biome. Once they were done with all that, and that was 2 different grades, we did it in 2 parts. They were done with the first part. I graded the first part, and I would say, okay, you're done, you're ready to move on to the next part. So I kept track of it, and they weren't just doing a free-for-all for a week while working on the project. Once they gathered all their information, then they made their zoos. And my more advanced students were actually able to draw according to the size. They were able to change the size of their cages or their exhibits according to the size of the animal. So here are a few examples. Those are all from this year that I kept. And unfortunately, this is my last year at Warren County, so I had to pass on the iPad. So they are going to be going to Miss Darcy Tuck, who teaches math in the same building in Warren County Middle School. So I kind of did a little interview with her to see what she planned on doing with the iPad. And she says that she plans on using them for Edmodo, mediation with the different games and apps that you can get. And she's going to try out Google Drive. She says she hasn't tried Google Drive much yet, but she's going to see. And she tried the flipped classroom this year a few times, and now that she's going to have the iPad, she thinks she's going to do that a little bit more.
The what? I'm sorry, what was that last thing?
Flipped classroom, from what I understand, it's where if I were to video myself teaching a lesson, and the student goes home and as homework watches the video, and then when they come back the next day, they ideally learned it, so then we can just go straight into practicing.
Neat.
So she's going to try doing that some more next year. She says she feels that using the iPads will make it easier on her to individualize her instruction, and that since students today are geared towards all of that new technology, she thinks that students will be more open to learning, trying new concepts, and having more confidence in themselves as they're learning the math concepts. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that you're not going to be with us next year.
It was a very hard decision.
I saw your presentation on May 14th at the Spotlight on Innovation, and science was probably my least favorite subject in school, followed closely by math. Obviously, I was an English teacher. But I went home so excited about what you were doing, and I said to my husband, you know, if I were told to read a chapter on leaves, it'd be horrible. And then what you're having them do, so hands-on interactive, I thought you were fabulous. And I'm very sorry to lose you.
It was interesting, the Show Me app. I like that because the kids are writing, they're speaking, they're seeing, so it's pulling in a lot of different senses. And not all of the children learn the same way, so it's helping, pull in a lot more.
It's a great point.
Yeah, very good, very nice.
Do you
And we have
find-
some good artistic kids.
Do you find more opportunity for collaboration as opposed to straight lecture with electronic
Yes,
meetings?
especially if we were just using the iPads, I had 12, so they at least had to work in pairs. And, I mean, everybody wants to use an iPad, so I was always surprised at how well they would work in the classroom when we had those iPads out.
How about the Kindles? I mean, I know Kindles have some limitations. Were they essentially just an electronic version of the textbook?
Yes, for this year, because we were having problems connecting them to the internet. So even when the textbook had YouTube links in it to go to different solves or different pages, even when we got to that point, there were some days that some of the Kindles wouldn't work. But once that kink is fixed, you just wouldn't have the same apps. But internet-wise, it would be better. Now, when I had the Kindles out, it was usually just for the book. So they were still allowed to work in their groups if they were doing Cornell notes or whatever they were doing. But many of them actually chose as groups they would take turns reading aloud to each other and then writing down their notes or discussing whatever they needed to discuss that I had assigned them. I was really surprised at how many chose to read aloud. I thought that was good practice, and that wasn't me telling them you have to read out loud. It was just the choice. You can work with your group if you want to, but you don't have to.
I'm glad they're working in groups and they don't each have their own iPad or Kindle or something like that. I worry about the kids and technology and not becoming socialized. So that's good that they're still.
They didn't have a problem socializing.
It's only at home when they're using technology
When
that they
their
choose
parents
not to
are
socialize. When their own peers are around, they're fine socializing and using technology at the same time. All right, that's good to know.
Any other comments? Thank you, Ms. Wakefield. Superintendent report.
I just have a couple of things this evening, and basically, today was the last day of school, as you all know. I'd like to thank everyone for a very successful school year. Most of you were able to attend graduation last week, and I did get an email from Mrs. Jordan thanking us for having graduation last weekend as opposed to Friday the 13th, which is this Friday. And I think the weather definitely cooperated with all of us last week, and this week may not have been as successful. That's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. School board reports, Mr. Boyles?
I just want to say congratulations to the graduating seniors. Good luck on your future endeavors as they open a new chapter of their life. I'd like to thank all the staff and teachers for providing an excellent school year, and in particular to thank our school business partnerships, volunteers, parents, and anyone else that has been involved in making this a successful school year.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Athey?
Well, I have attended a lot of graduations, and I cannot tell you that I thoroughly enjoyed them all. You know, sometimes it's like, oh boy. But these two graduations were exceptional this year. And I think that the students were, you know, a big part of that. I enjoyed the speakers, the graduates. I thought, you know, I mean, they were celebratory, but they were respectful of the process, and I just really did enjoy both of the graduations. You know, give another plug for the middle school. You hear so much about, you know, people talk about, oh my Lord, you know, it's you know, out of control when your kid gets to middle school. Kara had just a wonderful year, just a very good year. We have a lot to be proud of here in Warren County. So that's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Sharifka?
I echo Ms. Athey's sentiments. I've been to probably 40 high school graduations, so I've been there, done that, but these were exceptional, especially the speaker at Warren County High School. Wow. His speech was very unique, very unique. But, and I do congratulate all the graduates, and I wish the young men and women who are going into the military, you know, be safe, and thank you for your service. I did on May 14th attend the Educational Endowment Spotlight on Innovation. I was thrilled to hear Ms. Wakefield present the iPad for Life Science. Also, Brian Williams talked about welding. My husband was a welder, so that was also fascinating to me. And Thomas Breed spoke about 3D printers and Project Lead the Way, and that it was just a fascinating night. You know, sometimes you leave school-related events and, you know, they're okay, but this was exciting to see how dedicated our teachers are and what they're doing with the generosity that the endowment provides. And learning is a lot more fun these days than when I went to school. And I also attended a Skype session in Heidi Trude's French class. They have a relationship with a class in France, and you know, Ms. Drescher and you know, a couple of us, Mrs. Klein, the assistant principal, and I were in the room, and it was a quiz. Our students presented questions in English, and the French students had to respond, and the French students presented questions to our students in French, and our students had to respond. So it was very interesting. And so it's been a good year, I think, for a lot of our staff and our students, and I want to thank everyone, like Mr. Boyle said, who made this year a very good one.
Thank you. Mr. Wells?
Not a whole lot to add. I mean, both graduation ceremonies were excellent, and congratulations to those students, and thanks to the entire community. As Mr. Boyles points out, business partners, all of our staff, our parents, everybody combined to make this school system what it is, and we just appreciate everybody's participation and everybody's positive, upbeat attitude about it.
Thank you. And I also enjoyed the graduations, and I did attend both of the high school award ceremonies, and I just want to say thank you to the community members and organizations that offer scholarships to our students, because that was just phenomenal. And we have a lot of good students out there that are looking forward to some good future careers. Okay, action agenda. Presentations by staff. Approval of 2014 to, is that 15 or 16? 16, Educational Technology Plan. Mr. Grant. Keeping you hidden.
The following request is for the approval of the 2014 to 2016 technology plan. I would like to highlight a few of the areas of focus that we have had lately in educational technology. Currently, we are at 100% smartboards in the classroom. We're in the process of updating the older boards that have deteriorated over the years to ensure that the students and teachers can utilize these tools for the learning in the classroom. One-to-one computing is a school program that would allow each student to have their own device to utilize for learning, much like Marie Wakefield just presented, and I'm glad she was here to show that off. The device can store their textbooks, their assignments, allow for access to the internet for research and those types of things, and then provide a means for students to collaborate with others. Our schools have approximately 450 tablets of various models and operating systems at this moment in our classrooms. We will be using some Title I funds this summer to purchase approximately 350 tablets to be used in the elementary classrooms. So at this point, we're currently looking to standardize to a single type of device to help resolve some of the compatibility issues, as well as to provide for more of a stable technical support and professional development. Eventually, we would like to move to one-to-one initiative for every student. We believe that if we standardize to one device, that's going to help provide to be more of a successful initiative. If we wanted to do, just throwing out, if we wanted to do it right now, the one-to-one initiative across the entire county would be $2.5 million. ITRTs are continually involved in professional development throughout the year. We send them to several conferences a year to learn as well as present at these conferences. We currently are focusing on Google Apps in education. We presently have 4 ITRTs that are recently have become Google certified teachers, which is quite an accomplishment because there's only about 210 in the entire United States. So that's good. Our ITRTs provide professional development workshops as well as in-classroom coaching and modeling to assist our teachers with the integration of technology into our classrooms. That's all I have. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. On page 88, you've got the current status of technology.
Yes.
And I have 2 questions. You mentioned that all secondary teachers have laptops, but I was wondering, all throughout the division, does each teacher have a computer, whether it be a laptop? So every teacher has a computer?
Every teacher has a computer. The secondary teachers tend to move around a little bit more as far as classrooms, so they have laptops.
Okay, and I was wondering about the disparity between our 2 high schools with tablets. Was there a grant or some reason why Skyline has 30 and Warren County has 3?
Yes, those are mostly, they earned them through the grants and those types of things, yes.
And then only one other question. On page, I guess it was 69, you talked about how many work orders went in?
Yes.
And I was amazed a couple of years ago when Mrs. Shepard told me what the turnaround time is. So generally, what's your turnaround time if a teacher says, hey, I'm having a problem with this?
Yes, we try to keep it within 24 hours as a goal. That doesn't always happen. It just depends on the situation. So we have 5 techs currently, and they each are assigned to multiple schools.
Well, I still think our turnaround time is phenomenal, because I know in many schools across this country, it could be a month before they hear back from a tech. So I still think we're doing a great job supporting our staff and our equipment.
I have a question.
Sure.
Page 5,
Mm-hmm.
that sets out the people that participated.
Yes.
Was that updated?
Yes. Where are we?
Only because it still shows Mrs.
Yes,
Shepherd.
it shows everybody that has from the beginning.
But I
so-
mean, current titles, I'm asking, are those
Oh,
titles?
titles.
No, it's not updated.
No.
Okay. Because you're not
No,
ITRT at HJB and LFK anymore?
no.
All right.
Yeah.
So maybe just,
We will correct that.
yeah, if we move to approve it, we'll say to be amended or corrected on that page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because your title is
ITRT lead.
lead, okay, all right.
Any other comments or questions?
I move that the approval of the technology plan is presented.
I want to say the modification.
Subject to being updated in terms of
Yeah.
participation and titles.
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Thank you.
I can go
Next
back to
on
your
the
other job,
agenda-
right?
What's that?
I said, now he can go back to his other job.
Next on the agenda is the approval of 2014-15 health and dental insurance rates, and we had a work session earlier and discussed these, and I believe we are going to wait until our next meeting to approve this and get a little more information. Is that correct? Okay. We'll move on to approve the 2014-15 school meal prices. Mrs. Shepherd?
Good evening. The Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act of 2010 requires school divisions participating in the National School Lunch Program to ensure sufficient funds are provided to account for meals served to students not eligible for free or reduced lunch price meals. Schools charging less than $2.65 for paid lunches are required to adjust the full meal price to cover the difference. Currently, our elementary schools are charging $1.80 and our secondary schools $1.95. The Act allows school divisions to gradually raise the price of lunch until the minimum is reached. The increase in lunch prices at 10 cents a year. Based on our current lunch prices, Warren County Public Schools were required to raise its lunch prices for the 2014-15 school year to meet the minimum requirement. The recommendation is to increase elementary lunches to $1.90, which is a 10-cent increase, and then middle school and high school lunches to $2, which is a 5-cent increase. If you'll look at the last page, it shows our Warren County Public School lunch prices compared to surrounding school districts, and we are still one of the lowest lunch prices in our area. Any questions?
No, we discussed this, and we all agreed on the way it should be, and I'm glad to see that there. I move that the school lunch prices for the 2014-2015 school year increase by 10 cents at the elementary schools to $1.90 and 5 cents at the middle and high schools to $2 to meet the requirements of the Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Shepherd. First reading, VSBA February 2014 policy updates. Mr. Valentine.
Good evening. This is a first reading of these policy updates, and therefore there is no action requested from you this evening. In February, we received 53 policies for consideration by the Warren County School Board from the Virginia School Boards Association, who provides guidance to us on policy matters. All but 2 of the policies to be reviewed are currently included in the Warren County Public Schools policy manual, but need updating. Most only have minor changes. A lot of times it's just reference to codes and things like that. I don't know that there are any that are really going to substantially change the way we do business or the way we conduct ourselves, but we will review that in more depth with you at the work session on the 26th. 2 policies not currently contained in our manual, which are BCEA and ET, are optional, and our staff is not recommending that they be included at this time, and that has been the recommendation in the past, obviously, since they aren't currently in there. There is a chart that's attached that shows the updated policies as prepared by staff, noting the proposed changes, and I will bring to your attention there are 32 policies that we've included here that, as part of a review review process, I believe it is every 5 years, that are being reviewed, but there are no recommended changes to them. So if you review those, there are no changes. We will just note that they've been reviewed as of July, in this case, when you approve it. Final approval of the changes is scheduled for the July 10th meeting, and we'd be glad to answer any questions you might have now, but we'll have an opportunity to discuss it with you more in depth at the work session on the 26th.
Any questions?
The chart
Yes.
does not have the ones that are being reviewed but not changed?
The chart does not have that, but then if you go back a few pages, the VSBA explanations of the changes,
Okay.
and you should get to the end of that.
There's another chart.
Wait a minute, yeah, I have
Well,
another.
maybe there is. Yeah, there's 2
How
charts.
do I have another chart?
Maybe that's because the chart showing the reviewed ones isn't in there. We will correct that and update that.
But are these 2 charts in here the same? Page 5? Yeah, they look.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
sorry, it
just a
just got copied
duplication.
twice. Okay.
The actual policies that are being reviewed and not changed, they are in the very back of the packet.
Do they start on a certain page?
The pages aren't numbered, unfortunately, but yes, they do start on a certain page, and it's headlined VSBA Policy Update, Policies Reviewed but Not Revised. It lists the policies and the name of the policy,
About
and then
2/3
also
back.
copies.
Has a
When we
page.
get to there, we'll know which ones they
Yeah.
are. Okay, all right, okay.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Award contract for financial software support. Mr. Valentine.
School board policy requires any contracts over $15,000 to be presented to the school board for approval and award, and each year we come to you with the one for the financial software support. We use financial accounting software from a firm called RDA. It's now currently known as OpenRDA, and we've used this software since the early 1990s, but obviously not the same software. It's been updated many times, and there's, every month they do updates and revisions to it to adjust it and make it work better. So the software originally was given to the school system at no cost by the state when they went to a new accounting system, and we've continued to use it since then. The renewal cost for the coming year is $34,179.05, which is 1% greater than the current year cost. RDA is what's considered an open source software provider. They will provide you the software for free, but you got to know how to use it and maintain it and manipulate it. So that is where they come into the picture, and they provide that software support. And right now they're the only firm that can provide that, so they would be considered a sole source. We can't find anyone else that can do it and provide us that support at this time. So they do qualify as a single source supplier. So we would request your approval to award a contract in that amount to OpenRDA to provide the support for the coming year that is so to us if we want to pay our folks and pay our bills and keep track of how much money we've spent and all those good things.
I move that Open RDA be awarded a contract in the amount of $34,179.05 for support of the finance software and hardware system.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Award property, liability, auto, and workers' compensation insurances for fiscal year 2014-15.
Yes, and in the same vein of being over $15,000 by a considerable amount, we bring to you tonight the annual awarding of the property, liability, auto, and workers' comp insurance. And since July of 2004, we have participated in and been insured through the Virginia Association of Counties Group Self-Insured Risk Pool. This is the same insurer that the county uses. I've attached a 13-year history of what our premiums have been, just to give you a feel for where we've been as far as that goes. The renewal rates for 14 and 15 are very similar to the current rates, but there are a couple exceptions. During during this current year, our liability limits were raised from $2 million to $5 million. That's the same amount that the county has. We thought it was wise to be insured for liability at the same amount as they are, and we had a business partner who required that limit, and that's sort of what spurred us to look at it, and we did that. So that cost has gone up because of the increased limit. It cost us $5,363 a year. And then another thing that we're recommending we include this year, for a number of years, VACORP, the group, has provided a student accident insurance plan. Now, it's a secondary plan. It didn't really provide complete coverage that a primary plan would, but if someone didn't have a plan, it would pay up to its limits and help out, and if they did have a plan, it would help with the co-pays. That would be if a student got hurt in PE or fell or another student pushed them and they bumped their head, whatever. The only thing it doesn't cover is Virginia High School League athletics. So if it's football or any of the sports, it doesn't, but if it's PE class, it does. VACORP has provided that at no cost to us over these 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been that we've had it. This year they are going to begin to charge us, and they didn't tell me this, but my guess is this year the VSBA insurance pool merged or went in with this pool. So I'm sure they had an awful lot of school systems come into the pool that previously weren't in it, so the cost of providing this insurance previously maybe was nominal, whereas now it's become significant. That's my guess. The cost is $4,635, and it's something you don't have to provide. You're not required by law to provide it for students. Really, you're not liable unless there's gross negligence on the behalf of the school system when a student's injured. But it has provided a benefit for, I'm sure, a half a dozen students over the year at least that get hurt, and we file a claim, and the parents get helped in some way or another with the cost of any type of treatment the child might need. So we're recommending for $4,635, continuing to provide that, but at our expense instead of VACORP's. And then our workers' comp premium went up by about 6.2%, and that's just based solely on our claims experience. Over the past 3 years, they use a rolling average of what your claims have been. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have about our insurance renewal, and would respectfully request your approval of renewing with VACORP for the coming year.
I move that property, liability, student accident, and workers' compensation insurances for 2014-2015 be renewed through the Virginia Association of Counties Group Self-Insurance Risk Pool as outlined in their proposal.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of additional appropriation request. Mr. Valentine.
You may recall when Mr. Hirsch several meetings ago presented the special ed annual plan, he mentioned about how we, Warren County Public Schools, was going to be required to, or be responsible for providing educational services for all residents of the RSW Regional Jail who are under the age of 22 and have an IEP, an individualized education plan. And these services are required year-round, he has explained to us, and are fully reimbursed by the state, which is good news. Because, and he mentioned to you, we would be having a full-time teacher that would be that would work from that site with those students in that facility. So what we need to do is basically we didn't know when we built our budget this year what the cost was going to be and some of the other things. So it's not included in the original approved budget for 2014-15. So what we need to do is ask you to first of all approve that position and at the same time request that the Board of Supervisors increase our budget by $102,214, which will fund the cost of the program, the individual salary, and then the other related items that are necessary for that instructional program. And all these costs will be reimbursed through the state, so there will be no additional cost to the county in approving this additional appropriation.
And I believe if you approve this, the appropriation request, that the Board of Supervisors will actually hear it on Tuesday, or will they?
I don't know that we'll have it in, well, I don't know that we can get it to them in time for the next, it may be their first meeting in July, I'm thinking, because of their cutoffs.
So they're going to give us the money to hire a teacher, and the state's going to pay us back.
They'll basically authorize us raising our spending limit by this amount so that we can spend this money and then receive the reimbursement back from the state, yes.
So it's not just a teacher, though, it's for an administrator and an administrative assistant?
Well, what happens is, and those are existing positions that we currently have, that's Mr. Hirsch's position probably and one of the administrative assistants. They take the percentage of the time that he and they spend administering this program, and we can request reimbursement from the state for that.
Okay, I wasn't too sure about that.
Yeah.
But now, is the teacher going to be
Fully funded.
somebody that we've already got on staff that is just going to be assigned out there at
The
various
reason,
times?
the reason you notice maybe that the personnel report wasn't on the consent agenda, but it's down under the superintendent, because we're going to ask you to appoint the person to that position,
Okay.
but we didn't want to do it before you approve the position in the agenda.
Okay.
So that's why we sort of juggled things around there. So the
Okay.
answer to your question is yes, and it is
All
an
right.
existing staff member who has been selected and is being recommended a little later in the meeting to take that position, which will create another vacancy that we'll have to deal with. But
Okay. So basically, for the additional, though, administration and the admin support that it's going to take to do this, 10% of what we're already paying for those two things will be reimbursed through this?
yes.
Okay. Got
It's
it.
not going to require hiring any additional people.
Right,
Other than the teacher.
other than the one teacher?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
All right.
When will this start?
Well, I believe they want to start July 1st. That's when the facility, I understand, is opening on or about July 1st, and that those services will be probably needed from the beginning, and certainly want to get in and get the program established. So I think it is a 12-month position, so
So the teaching position is a 12-month.
Yes.
it is. My understanding is we need to provide those services during the summer months.
Now, you may not know this, but what are they projecting would be the number of students that this
That I don't
could
know.
benefit?
You're right. You're correct. I don't know.
Okay.
And that'll fluctuate.
Right, of course, yeah, because you could have somebody that's there for a month, you could have somebody that's there for 6 months. It's during the period of time that they're incarcerated at that facility. Do you know how many we serve at the local jail?
I don't. I recall Mr. Hirsch talking about it when he was giving his report, and those numbers just didn't stick. He did talk as though it would be significantly more
Right.
when you
'Cause it's
bring
3
in
counties.
the other counties, and,
Okay.
and probably predominantly the one, because it's a much larger county than the other that's coming in, but
Okay,
only a guess.
all right.
Is there a motion?
I'll do it. I move that the new position of Special Education Regional Jail Teacher be approved and the Warren County Board of Supervisors be requested to increase the school board's fiscal year 2014-2015 operating fund budget by $102,214 to fund the cost of this program.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of school activity funds, audit firm, Mr. Ballantyne.
As we continue to read policy and pay attention to policy, we continue to learn things or maybe remember things that we had forgotten or had overlooked or whatever. But one of the requirements of policy DGC is that the school board has an activity fund audit conducted each year by a duly qualified accountant or accounting firm, and we do that. There's no problem with that. But the policy also states that the type of engagement, whether it be an audit, examination, or a review, and that the firm or person that you're having do it be approved by the school board in advance. And that's what we haven't been doing. We've been using the same firm and just continuing on. And that firm is Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, who also does the countywide audit for them and does a good job for both entities. So we would ask tonight that you do approve Robinson Farmer Cox Associates as a firm to conduct the fiscal year 2014 school activity fund audit. This year their cost is $8,200. It's provided for in the budget, and that's really about it. We'd ask for your approval so that the chairman and director of finance can sign the letter of engagement, and quite honestly they're scheduled to come the last week of July and do it, of course contingent upon your approval of them as the firm.
You know what they charged last year?
I think it was $8,100. I think it's $100 more this year.
Any discussion? Motion?
I move that the firm of Robinson Farmer Cox Associates be selected as the firm to conduct the fiscal year 2014 school activities funds audit, and the chairman and director of finance be authorized to sign the letter of engagement.
Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Ballantyne. Going to give you a little break now. Presentations by superintendent. Approval of VFW scholarship.
This is a little bit after the fact, but the Colonel Samuel R. Millar Veterans of Foreign Wars post-1860 wishes to award two scholarships, two $500 scholarships, I believe one to each high school, and actually they've already been awarded, but this approval is basically for recognition of their contribution.
I move that the Colonel Samuel R. Millar Veterans of Foreign Wars Post-1860 scholarships be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of personnel report and addendum.
As Mr. Ballantyne stated, we pulled the personnel report and addendum from the consent agenda because you did need to approve a position that we have on the personnel report for the jail teacher. And we ask that you approve the personnel report and addendum. The only other thing that I would mention at this point in time is that on the addendum, one of the appointments is Lori Lehman to replace Margaret Holmes as principal at E. Wilson Morrison Elementary School. So we're asking for your approval, please.
The teacher of transition services, that's the position.
I'm sorry?
The teacher of transitional services, is that the position we just approved?
No, if you look under appointments on the original personnel report, where at the bottom of the second page, it says SPED Regional Jail Teacher.
Yeah.
That's the one you just,
Okay.
that's the position you just approved.
Okay, at the bottom.
Spade.
Before we approve this, the only thing I wanted to say is we're at that time of the year again where, in what it looks like we've had a significant number of resignations.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that we get that report going again that you were doing for us
He has it.
last year. Okay.
As to the reasons.
No,
Yeah, that was one of the things that was on that
transfer.
Yes, I
the
understand.
list of resignations, retirements,
Right.
and
Yeah, but I
Who's
thought it
filling those
also, the
positions?
format that we were using also did provide to us what the reason, if it was known.
Well, I think I confused what you were saying. I was interested in staff, special teachers who are leaving the division. And you do an interview, I think, when they go. I would just be interested in what the main reasons were.
Right. I think we did that as a separate report last
Right.
year after.
Right.
We're talking about two different
Yeah, I'm
reports.
sorry.
Because one was basically just the list of
Yeah.
who was leaving and whether they were resigning or retiring and if there were transfers, which schools,
Right,
all
who
those
replaced
involved.
whom.
Right.
But
And then Buck did the other one that listed all the reasons people gave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in that, too.
So we'll have all that information for you.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the personnel report and the addendum as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Appointment of school board member to Warren County Youth Advisory Board.
You do not have anything in your packet for this, but the County of Warren has established a Warren County Youth Advisory Board, and as part of its bylaws, they determined that a member of the Warren County School Board needs to serve on that advisory board, along with another employee of Warren County Public Schools. I've assigned Mr. Hirsch to serve on it as the employee of Warren County Public Schools. And I approached Ms. Athey about her willingness to serve on this advisory board because she has been very significantly involved with the whole, I guess, it's a strategic plan to help youth in Warren County. And it seemed to me certainly the person that would certainly help in this regard. And I did talk with her before, and she said she would be happy to serve. So my recommendation to you is that you appoint Kim Athey to serve on the Warren County Youth Advisory Board, which she will willingly do.
When do they meet?
I haven't
She didn't even
heard
ask
that yet, but there was back in December when we had that whole week of snow. And Mr. Wells was there too. Weren't you there? Okay, yeah. Anyway, so if I'm not able to attend, then I can maybe get you to be my backup. But anyway, there was a 2-day strategic plan that was created and to work on issues that that affect the youth in the community. And one of the things that came out of that strategic plan is that we needed to have a youth advisory board. So this is just one of the initiatives that is expected to grow out of that 2-day strategic planning session, which is why I was very interested, because I feel like I was on some part of the front end of it, although Mr. Hirsch was involved even prior to that. And actually, as I think about it, there was another, like a year earlier, there had been another all-day planning session that from that, the 2-day strategic plan grew from. So it's actually been about a 2-year process to get to this point.
So what other community members are they talking about making up this board?
I'm not sure. I didn't read the
I
bylaws
can't hear
to see.
you.
Yeah.
I said, what other community members are they talking about making up this board?
Oh, shoot.
I think, I think the sheriff and and police chief or someone from the police department would be on there.
Member of the Board of Supervisors will be on there. And
Yes, there
staff.
was a judicial representative, also Department of Social Services, certainly.
Okay.
Mostly agencies.
Okay.
Northwestern was going to have somebody on there, I'm pretty sure.
Many years ago, I attended an all-day strategic plan, I think at the 4-H club. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a continuation
It
of that
is.
process.
I think
Okay.
it is.
that was
because
something
was-
that Judge Sharp
Yeah, that was
and our best practices group had put together.
That was a
back
while
then.
back.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was there too.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Judge Sharp and Judge Napier were
right.
sort of the two guiding forces for this. And I think the overarching idea when you talk about who's going to be on it are the community stakeholders who should be at the table and keeping the momentum of this project moving forward, and not just have a summit every couple of years or possibly every time there's an issue like heroin or something like that. It's to try and stay out in front and be proactive and an attempt not to lose any of the folks who should be at the table, who have a part in this: law enforcement, law, judicial system, Valley Health is a part of it, and just everybody to try and underpin our youth so that we don't lose them.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I'll make sure that, I know there was a draft out of that strategic plan.
Yes.
And I think probably one of the first things this group will do is to, if the Board of Supervisors hasn't already done it, is adopt that plan. So once I'm sure that's in adopted form, I'll make sure that all of you have a copy of that.
Great, okay. Do we need a motion to?
You do need a motion.
Appointment?
Yes.
I would move the appointment of Kim Athey as the Warren County School Board member of the Warren County Youth Advisory Board.
Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
VRA funding resolution.
I don't know, Mr. Ballantyne, did you send this out earlier to them? Have they
I
seen it?
didn't send it out earlier, but it is at their place this evening. So this will be the first time now that the school board has seen it.
Okay. As you can see, attached to an email that was sent by Dan Siegel, who is the bond counsel for the county and has been for us, this is an email that is proposing an authorizing resolution for presentation to the school board tonight. And we discussed, as he and I discussed, this resolution relates to the county's financing through the Virginia Resources Authority, the VRA, of the Leech Run Parkway, which will provide access to the new middle school from an entrance off to Oden Street. The VRA has agreed that the county can utilize the existing collateral provided to VRA in the refinancing of the original Warren and Skyline High School borrowings that was accomplished in 2012 using only Skyline High School. In order to document the new borrowing, the county and the school board will amend the existing 2012 VRA documents listed in the resolution. And this is the first of a series of financing this year that will include an eventual performance agreement for various school improvements as well as the new middle school. VRA requires a lease of collateral for its financing and also relies on the state intercept provisions of the Virginia Code to assure the county's lease payments. Now, did you understand all that? Good.
Yeah, somewhat. You know what that intercept payment means? That if the county were to default on that loan, then the state would intercept state aid that comes to the county to pay the loan. So
I understand
it would be sort of like garnishing the county's wages.
Again, the county is preparing to have a similar resolution that they will approve on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think basically what you're being asked to do here in the resolution is to authorize Skyline High School to be used as collateral for the funding of this, and then to authorize your chairman and superintendent to sign the documents as necessary to make this happen.
I move the proposed resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Motion carries. Discussions by school board. If you intend to attend the July 21st VSBA orientations in Richmond, please let Mr. Ballantyne know. And then make sure you take a look at the June 26th agenda items. It is now time to go into a closed meeting. Do we have a motion?
This motion is made that this open public meeting of the Warren County School Board become a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711. The school board desires to discuss the following matters in a closed meeting. Section 2.2-3711A1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of an employee of the school board, specifically the appointment of a part-time staff and the superintendent's contract. Be it resolved that the School Board of Warren County does hereby authorize discussion in closed meeting of the matters identified herein.
Mr. Clerk, please call roll.
I missed the second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Athey.
Yes.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Boyles.
Yes.
Mrs. Sharefko.
Yes.
We are now in closed meeting.